This is a video, again, about a current affair. I've done them before. And it's about how stupid they treat Australians as. And look, I think we are becoming that stupid. But it's cyclical. They put this up and then we become stupider. They put up more stupid things and we become stupider. And what you're about to see, it's very clever though. It's by design. They just want Australians dumb. They just want us as dumb as they can get us. And it's this is prime time TV. So let's get started. We've got here Australia's new militia. Okay, this is very sensationalist. I didn't see the lead up to this story, but would have to have been, the promos would have been Australia's, new militia, and there's a guy there with a gun and nunchucks. Okay, so let's start watching.
No choice but to arm themselves with deadly weapons. Are they going too far?
From the air, you can see the tsunami of urban sprawl slowly but surely wiping out many of the hobby farms and paddocks in Cranbourne in Melbourne's southeast.
Okay, so the scene is set in Victoria once again. They're all the front and centre as far as terror and gangs and crime and all this, and all the new laws are all coming out of Victoria. They have a very compliant government down there, compliant, that goes along with all this sort of garbage. So before I go any further, if you watch this episode just unedited without me editing it, their editing makes it so confusing that you can't really build up a picture. It's not chronological. They'll jump from one part of the story to another and back to another part, and all they're doing is putting up their slogans that they want you to remember and brainwash you with. Because if you were to look at it from go to woe, you could then work out that it is a load of shit, but they purposely cut and chop, go backwards, forwards. So what I've done is I've done it chronologically, so that's why I've just set the scene at the start. So let's keep going.
This is a neighbourhood in transition. It was once rural, now it's fast becoming suburban. The dirt roads, they're being paved, and the population, well, it's booming. And with a rise in the number of people comes, of course, a rise in crime. And the locals who've lived here forever, they're not used to that.
So presumably, the citizens of Cranbourne have formed a militia to fight the crime, and they're called Australia's New Militia. Should have just really called it Cranbourne's New Militia. Anyway, they're always stretching things, aren't they?
Many homes in the street have been targeted by burglars and intruders in recent months. In fact, it's claimed 6 have been burgled in the past fortnight alone. George had his ute stolen and wallet. Now he sleeps in the lounge room and barricades his doors with logs.
Stole my ute, smashed it, thrashed it, used my tap and go with my car, spent $350 mainly on cigarettes and Maccas.
He's so fearful of being targeted again, he's just sold his home.
I just don't feel safe here anymore. I'm moving to Queensland.
So presumably, George decided not to join the militia, and he's just selling up and moving out. So that's his strategy. But they're setting the scene for how dangerous it is in Cranbourne.
Victoria, crime, ridiculous.
Husband and wife Sean and Maddie live in fear of criminals harming their young children. They're saving up to move as well. But
Alright, so this guy's also not joining the militia, although he does have a baseball bat. But they're saving and they're planning on moving as well. But he's not in a militia either. So let's just get to this militia.
But there's one street where the road is mostly still dirt. And that's where we find a kind of motley militia, disturbingly comfortable with taking the law into their own hands, even if it means, in some cases, putting innocent lives at risk.
Okay, the headline was Australia's New Militia. Then they said Cranbourne. In other words, Cranbourne's New Militia. And now we're down to a single street in Cranbourne, which is hardly Australia's New Militia. And obviously the title and the premise for this entire episode is based on a lie. Okay, and it becomes evident the whole thing is a lie. Let's keep watching.
This man, who we'll call Joe, isn't the only one in his street stockpiling weapons.
Alright, so we got down to a street of vigilantes that was originally started as Australia's New Militia. Now we're down to just a single guy who is not alone within that street in Cranbourne. Anyway, and look at him. Yep, obviously, Anglo white guy, mad, strutting around. Oh yeah, he's your typical. Oh God, I'm not even going to go into it. Let's keep going.
Baseball bats, nail guns, homemade machine guns.
Oh, homemade machine guns, and with that editing of in and out as though he's shooting it when he's actually in fact not. And what, did he make it at his home, or did someone else make it at their home? Well, he made it at his home. He's a man of many talents, and he's just some crazy ass idiot. It's your typical Australia's militia.
People with baseball bats with nails in them. People are willing to even use their car as a weapon.
You see what sort of damage it's going to do to a human.
You heard him. It's humans this hunter has in his sights.
It's all getting dramatic now. He's this hunter with his bow and he's shooting things, shooting torsos. He's got humans in his sight. And this Reed Butler guy, he was prominent in Burke Street. So he is just one big, I love this Seinfeld saying, phony baloney, this Reed Butler.
I don't want to maim somebody, but I have to, because they're not going to learn any other way. And something with this sort of power is going to make them realise the mistake that they've made if they live through it. I've used it before and I'll use it again. I've shot at 2 people in the backyard before, and I've shot at a car that was at the premises that shouldn't have been at the premises.
Oh, they're really ramping it up now. Just make an observation of how big his property is. Now, if urban sprawl has reached a property of this magnitude, well, he's going to be a multi-millionaire. Why would he bother defending it? And who did he actually shoot at? And he doesn't say he shot it with that bow. He just says he shot at him and a car. Could have been anything.
Joe tells us his favourite movie is Wolf Creek, which isn't surprising considering he dips his arrows in mercury and battery acid to inflict maximum pain on his victims.
That way, even if you only nick your target, you know they're going to die 5 days later, excruciating death.
So if you weren't convinced before that Joe, whose last name we're not going to say, isn't a made-up caricature, just a made-up character reading lines to portray a certain demographic as being utterly stupid and mad, well, you know, it's exactly what he is, just an actor.
The perceived crime wave in this street has led Joe and some other residents to form a neighbourhood watch.
I patrol with my bow and my arrows.
All right, we've gone from militia to neighbourhood watch, but he's patrolling with his bow and arrow, high-powered, that he dips in battery acid and mercury to make sure that he'll kill him if he nicks him. Oh, this is just so believable. Would there have been one Australian watching this that would be just going, oh, wow, oh, okay then, and taking this without question? God, I hope not, but it's just got a funny feeling that a lot do. Okay.
We catch them, we're going to deal with them ourselves, because it's not going to stop until somebody gets severely hurt.
So what does he mean by till it stops? What, so he's going to kill someone and then it's going to be it? What, no more burglaries, no more trespassers, and that's his plan, is it? To dip his arrows in mercury and battery acid, kill someone, and then all his problems are solved. They want you to believe that this guy's real, that he's actually real.
Residents around here are arming up. People are petrified.
You threaten my family, I'll tear you apart. I'll bury you.
Oh, and here's the other half of the militia, because there's only the 2 of them. The first guy, Joe, and this guy. You can already tell. Interestingly, he's portrayed as being stupider than Joe. I know you don't believe me, but let's just watch.
Joe's neighbour James joins him on those patrols. He recently had a puppy stolen from his property.
Oh, he had a puppy stolen from his property, so he's joining patrols with a guy with a crossbow with arrows dipped in battery acid and mercury to kill people. Maybe the puppy just wandered off, thought, this guy's nuts. But again, he's just a made-up character. He's not real. They want you to believe it, but he's not. Okay.
You picked the wrong neighborhood to mess with, and definitely the wrong person.
While Joe's arsenal is highly dangerous and potentially deadly, the only threat James poses is perhaps to himself.
I'm angry.
For those of you who doubted me when I said this guy was going to look stupider than Joe, well, there you go. And how many different camera angles did they have? One from down in the grass, one from each side of him, all just looking like a complete buffoon. That's what, I mean, he's got an American accent. Yeah, that's just another angle they're going for, I think, there. But he's just a dumb white guy, and this is just what they do. It's ridiculous.
And so I might look pretty good at it, but, you know, it's only because I actually wanted to get a job originally in the movie industry and stuff, so.
Oh, no one would have guessed that. And is this your audition? You're hoping this is your audition for perhaps getting back into, or getting into the industry? Well, he's acting. He's putting on a show. He did look like a complete buffoon, especially when he rolled over backwards. Although, yeah, didn't look that convincing. Righto.
Besides nunchucks, James's other weapon of choice to scare off home invaders is a pickaxe handle.
Would you hold it down like that, or would you
Oh, hell no.
What would you do? Sorry, what would you do?
Well, a thrust into your head, or a thrust into your crotch, or a thrust over there.
He's on edge. While we were filming, he thought he heard something suspicious.
Do you know what it was?
Not sure.
Turned out to be some dogs barking at a cow.
Or it might have been his puppy coming home. So they just had that little bit of drama, make it even look more, well, based on the level of stupidity that they think they're pitching this at, perhaps they do think that people were going to believe that there was any potentially intruder.
Retired Victoria Police Detective Charlie Bazina isn't laughing. He's highly troubled by what's going on in this Cranbourne street.
Well, he's retired, so it doesn't matter that he's troubled. Wouldn't the real police be troubled by this story? Wouldn't they be watching this and perhaps going around to this guy's house and he's firing a crossbow in suburbia? Well, that's because the police aren't troubled because it's not real. And they've been told it's not real in advance. So they know not to worry about this, and this guy here who's retired, he can act like they're talking to the police by him being a part of this. So
the issue with vigilantes is they act first and then ask questions later.
I'll tie them up and I'll take them to somewhere where I know I'll be on my own with them for a while, and I'll have a good discussion with them. And there's no guarantees that they're going to come back.
So just some more incoherent ranting from Joe, no second name, who is talking about killing people. You're not going to come back. Okay, let's just get to the message. As well as, these white guys being total morons, that's the message. Let's get to another message.
It is a criminal offence. You cannot take the law in your own hands.
Now, Victoria Police say you should never confront an intruder. Instead, always call 000. Their full statement is on our website.
So Tracy's inferring that police said don't take the law into your own hands and call 000 in response to this story. But I would have thought in response to this story, they would have turned up at least to the guy with the crossbow and perhaps, taken him in for questioning and maybe a mental assessment. Isn't there like a surveillance team that checks for potential terrorists from the mentally ill community? Well, this guy, one of their prime candidates. So I don't think that the police were specifically, and that notice that she says on their website won't be in response to your story on Australia's militia. We say this. It'll just be general rules for calling 000. So there it is, just a total load of bullshit. And there's just one other thing that they added into. Remember at the start how they had people leaving, and then these two idiots. What they try and do is they try and mix the credible with the incredible, because it's quite believable people will move from a high crime zone. And then they add these idiots to it to make out like they're all part of the same story. And they do that with surveys and things that they do. They'll say, there was one survey that said 60% of women say they've been sexually harassed or discriminated against in the workplace. Well, there's a bit of a distinction between being sexually harassed and discriminated. Discriminated could be not given a work trip, or not being given a good job that you wanted to do, something like that. Whereas sexual harassment, that's a bit different. It's like saying 95% of men are rapists or hold a driver's license. Well, yeah, you've sort of got it out there that 95% of men are potentially rapists. It might be 94% rapists, 1% have got a driver's license. You see what I'm getting at, though? That's what they've done with this story here as well. They've mixed the credible with the incredible. They're starting to do it a lot. They've probably been doing it for quite some time. Maybe I just didn't pick up on it. Anyway, and again, to recap, those two idiots, I mean, they're just not real, and it's totally contrived. And you know what? You cannot, because this isn't a news show. They don't have to tell the truth. They can lie, even though they're pretending to tell the truth, it's ridiculous, because they can purport something to be true, and as long as it's not in the news, and lie about it, and as long as it's not in the news, the ACMA, the whatever it is, Australian Communications Media Authority, they won't do anything. They've really watered down. That used to be a bit stronger. They've recently updated it to water it down even more. So they're totally unaccountable. All right.